So hello everyone and welcome to this exchange. The title of this exchange is Staying Inspired in Challenging Times and will last approximately 30 to 45 minutes. Thank you for registering and thanks also to Kirsty Norris from Action for Sustainability. My name is Emma and I'm the Member Events and Communities Officer here at the EAUC. As you know, the EAUC deliver the Sustainability Exchange funded by HEFCE and led by Staffordshire University. So what are exchanges? Exchanges are free lunchtime webinars on a range of sustainability topics. Anyone can present them. Just get in touch with us at sustainabilityexchange@eauc.org.uk or myself. Just a little bit of housekeeping to go over now. I'm hoping that everyone can hear okay. I have muted you all just to avoid background noise so that you can hear as clearly as possible. If you have any issues hearing at any point during this exchange, could you please use the chat box to send me a message saying so. Hopefully most of you have working microphones. Don't worry if you don't, as you'll still have a chance to ask any questions at the end by typing them to me in the chat box and I'll read them aloud. This webinar is being recorded so you can view it again or share it with colleagues. It will be made available on the Sustainability Exchange with the presentation and any other resources a few hours after the exchange has ended. You'll be sent a short survey to gain your feedback. Please can you take the time to complete this? Okay, so that's all from me. Thanks, and over to Kirsty.
Hey, thanks Emma, and welcome to everybody. It's lovely to hear what's going on around and about the different wild food foraging, and it makes me start wanting to ask about different bits of wild food, but I must focus on what we're doing today. It is a participative webinar though, so there's loads of opportunities to get involved, so please don't be shy to use the chat box, which I'll be encouraging you to do throughout the next half hour or so. But first of all, just a little bit about me and who I am. I've been working mostly with colleges and universities over the last few years in various capacities, so ranging from environmental management to promoting sustainable behaviour, to working with champions and leaders, helping understand what sustainability is and how to develop a response as an organisation to the global challenges we face. And one commonality that I've just seen over and again throughout this work is the lack of time, and in some cases, lack of encouragement for sustainability practitioners in colleges and universities to actually achieve what they feel they'd like to do. And it's not just relevant to this sector, it reflects what's happening all too often in the industry as well. So over the last few years, I've been using different facilitation methods and that inspire deeper conversations that matter to people, as well as trained in eco-facilitation and empowerment work, particularly the work of Joanna Macy, which some of you may have heard of and on which this workshop is based today. So yeah, this interesting kind of mix of elements has brought me to my present focus of really facilitating workshops specifically to people like yourselves, to sustainability practitioners, to keep strong and inspired in these quite challenging times through using this process that we use today of acknowledging the global challenges that we face in a safe environment which helps to empower participants, which might seem odd, to bring up these different emotions, to actually empower you to respond to this mess we're in, to renew our purpose and passions. So it really brings us to why we're here today. I mean, I feel the role of the sustainability practitioner and champion is absolutely essential, really essential in these times, but so challenging on a daily basis. And I've been there and I was reflecting on this morning. Now more than ever, we need to be so resilient. So how on earth do we do that? This workshop today is a place we can explore what being resilient means. How do we keep ourselves going despite the frequent knockbacks? How do we stay juicy and passionate about what we do? How do we stay strong and inspired? So first of all, I wanted to look at why we're here. Now I'm normally a flip chart person, right? So this is my equivalent of a flip chart today on this whiteboard. Hopefully you could see this. And I'm assured that you can write on the whiteboard too. So we have here a problemometer. Now, on this problemometer, I would like you to rate how serious you think the problems are that we face on this planet, and put a tick in the sections on the right. So do you think on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 we've got nothing to worry about, or 5 we face a serious challenge? So someone's already responded, we face a serious challenge. Well, we've got a 4. Oh, this is great. We've got another 4. The buzzard has brought technical joy. Anybody else want to express their opinion? Nice big blue 5. There's a 3. A 4. So we're on the top end, I'm thinking, at the moment. How we rate, we think that the problems we face on this planet are pretty serious. Does anyone else want to add their vote? Okay, so as the problem stands, as we see it, we're facing a serious crisis. There's another one here from a 5, so I pop yours in. I think my pen's working. So we're facing a serious crisis. These people present here today feel that actually the problem is serious of what we face on this planet. Okay, so we'll go on to my next whiteboard. And this is the responsometer. I love the responsometer. How active is your organisation in facing these concerns? And I apologise for my spelling mistake at the top there. So 1, we haven't noticed as a problem. 2, we've got a minimal response. 3, significant activity. 4, widespread mobilisation. 5, an empowered and inspired whole organisational response. That's really lovely to see there's a tick in that box already. So we've got a mix. We've got 1 that hasn't noticed the problem. Few minimum responses. Oh, another chat room 1 I'll put in for you. 3. Okay, anyone else want to pop some votes in? This one's a bit more varied, I'm thinking. So don't worry, these responses aren't identifiable to you. If you're concerned that your organisation might look at this and see what you've responded. Anybody else want to vote? Okay, so we've got quite a range of responses of how you feel your organisation is, how active your organisation is in facing these concerns. And really in relation to how the seriousness of the problem we stated just now, what we would like to see here is something more ranging towards the top end, the 5, 4 and 5. But really the responses are weighted on the, we haven't noticed there's a problem, the response is minimal, there's significant activity, so it's hopeful. Really feels very hopeful actually. Okay, so I'll just pop across back to the presentation. And why we do the problemometer and the responsometer is just to be aware of potential disconnect that might exist. So disconnect between how serious we think the problem is and what the response we're getting is. And where there's a big disconnect, that can really risk burnout, particularly if you're the one particularly trying to connect the two. You see there's a big problem, you want a big response. It can be totally exhausting. So I'm offering this process today as a way of meeting this need to stay inspired and not burn out in light of the challenges that we face. So this is the process we'll go through today. I'm not sure why I've drawn a yellow dot on it, but we're going to go through this process, which follows a kind of a U-curve. So we're going to start with the positive, and this really is a whistle-stop tour today. We're going to start with the positives. We're going to look at the mess we're in. So we're really going to understand what it is that we're concerned about. We're going to look at how can we look at the mess with a different perspective, so that we can actually feel empowered and inspired. And then going forward, we're going to, this isn't a webinar, and the workshops I run aren't workshops that you come, you sit at, you perhaps enjoy the experience, hopefully, and then disappear off and forget about it. There's a going forward, there's a commitment, there's a, well, what am I going to do with what I've just experienced today? So this process requires we really hear from ourselves and each other and allow ourselves to express any emotions that come naturally to us. And I really want to urge that they're all welcome and accepted here. So this webinar is an opportunity to try out this process. Are you willing to give it a go? Use the chat box. Are people up for this? I don't think there's a raised hand facility, but yeah, cool. I'm getting some positive motion from the chat room now. Okie dokie. So, seeing as it's positive from the chat room, we're going to move on and start from the positive. And this is really a way of resourcing ourselves. Oh, fantastic. Thank you. There's some really positive response, which is brilliant, because I like this bit, the starting from the positive. We use it in appreciative inquiry, and it's a great happiness skill. It contradicts the dominant message of consumer society, that message that you just hear daily. You're not good enough. You're not smart enough. You don't have the latest car. You know, this kind of push for unhappiness. Now, I start sounding like some raving crazy person here, but I found something to back this up the other day, and this is from a website for marketing professionals. Where is it? Here it is. The law of dissatisfaction. And this is encouraging. The job of advertisers is to create dissatisfaction in its audience. If people are happy with how they look, they're not going to buy cosmetics or diet books. If they're happy with their old television, they're not going to buy a new LCD. If people are happy with who they are, where they are in life and what they got, they just aren't customer potential. That is, unless you make them unhappy, which is kind of shocking, really, I find. So this society really breeds dissatisfaction. So positivity work is liberating, and I personally like to think of it as a bit subversive too. So why is it? How does it resource ourselves? I like to think of it, if we're out there, we're trying to do lots of quite challenging, inspiring, different work, then the positivity work, the gratitude work is like the roots of a tree. We're pushing out and grounding deeper and wider so we can reach higher and further above ground. So it can provide real strength and motivation. And with regular practice, it's like it can help recognize and value benefits we might not otherwise have noticed. And it's simple to do, but like any muscle, it just takes regular practice to get into the habit of being positive and grateful. So, in a workshop where we're all sitting in a room together, we might hear from each other by going around the group. But in this webinar, we're going to use this chat box to listen to ourselves and each other. And there's going to be a number of kind of open sentences this lunchtime, which I'd encourage you to complete. And if you don't feel comfortable to complete it on the screen, then I would urge you to complete it on a piece of paper on your desk. So here's the first one, is complete this sentence. Some things I love about being alive on Earth are. And it doesn't have to be much, a couple of words just to get the flow going. The sense of freedom to explore and learn. Water. Oh yeah, I just took a sip of water. Puppies. Things I love about being alive on Earth. Seeing beautiful countryside while riding my bike. Oh, that's lovely. Wildlife, drinking cold water, the workings of the natural world, laughing with people, being able to love. Yes. Oh, wonderful. Sunlight, running, swimming and diving. Oh, yeah. Breathing clean air. And sometimes in seeing gratitude, we can also be very aware of the vulnerability of what we're grateful for. This is fantastic. Lynn's got her colleagues contributing too. therapy you get from looking at the sea. Oh yeah. The richness of what is coming up is wonderful. I've got another question as we're thinking in positive terms, and today is very much about, you know, staying inspired in our workplace too. So if you can use the chat box again, what first inspired me to do my present job was. It's lovely to just try and remember what it is that really inspired you, and still does inspire you. The ability to make a change. Yeah. A disillusionment with economics and marketing that I studied at uni. Yeah, fair point. Jamie Okumba. Thanks, Charlotte. Good, healthy food. So what first inspired me to do my present job? To help build a better world. Wanting to help other people find their way in the world. My country and seaside upbringing. Oh, that sounds lovely. Wanting to make people recycle more. To help students eat more sustainable food, yes. And again, as we look at what inspired you, we're kind of seeing the flip side of, well, you know, the risk is that students aren't eating sustainable food. You know, the other side, we know we are having to work for these things to promote this, to encourage a more sustainable society with this. Thank you, thank you. So this leads us to the next part of that process, to explore the mess we're in. And I have to say, this is very much a whistle-stop tour. So in workshops, we invite people to feel their fears and frustrations, their anxieties in the world, in their daily lives, and in your work lives too. And again, this is counter to the dominant means of dealing with pain, which is, you know, switch the channel, protect ourselves. I mean, I noticed this morning I had another email come in, sign this petition. Oh, I can't deal with another petition, you know, and just turning away. It can help, but it's also the expected way of dealing with pain and fear. But this can become self-amplifying, and we can rely on short-term fixes for distress. And we don't often wish to delve too deep. Sometimes we don't want to know actually all the details and know everything that's going on. We can sometimes feel that we've already got too much to deal with, and the fear of getting stuck in that type of despair that we can feel. So in workshops, we create a very safe space to acknowledge and feel these emotions of distress, pain, frustration, fears, and find that actually expressing these emotions unblocks rather than pushes down these feelings. We acknowledge that these feelings are very healthy and natural reaction to what's going on in the world. And in some ways, they're only reaction to what's happening in the world. And by expressing them, literally hearing ourselves, speaking these concerns, that can really unblock the emotion, and we find ourselves able to be much more clear and much more creative, which is absolutely essential in terms of being able to find a response to what's happening right now. So there's a lovely little film I was going to show you, but unfortunately I didn't quite bring all the technical fixes today. We have a technical mishap in that we can't connect with WebEx onto the internet, so we can't actually show you this. But I would urge you to just have a look at this. It's a lovely little video. It's only 4 minutes long of albatross in the mid-Pacific, and just what we're doing, the plastic that's rolling up in this albatross environment where there's no humans anywhere near. It's quite upsetting. But focusing on your work, which is why we're here today, I would urge you to use the chat box to complete this sentence. What I find hard in my work is. Knowing these problems of the world, what do you find difficult? So constantly battling against the consumer society, yeah. Other people's negativity. The sheer volume of what could and needs to be done, yeah, I hear that. Encouraging other people to care, changing people's behaviours. It's not small stuff, is it? Yeah. Anybody else would like to respond? What I find hard in my work is getting the message out in an agreeable way with others, definitely. All of the above, thanks Liz. Lack of support and commitment, yeah. Money comes first. Oh, darn money. Yeah, I hear that, definitely. Balancing the need to report with the need to do, yes, that's really interesting. Finding thinking time and space, yes. And Alison, as above, yeah. So perhaps you can respond to this too. When I think about this, feelings that come up include excitement, okay, despair, sadness, frustration, slightly manic, laughing, I'm feeling that right now. Need to rise to the challenge, well done, Tom. Anger, yeah. Depression. The desire to write some lists. Oh, lists always help, Charlotte. Don't worry, lists always help. I feel so much happy once I've got a list. Okay, and we see these feelings of, yeah, I just want to read and acknowledge these feelings for a moment. And I like to just relate that this is us in our workplace. Oh, look, we're looking for chocolate now. We're looking for chocolate. So this. I like to kind of relate this to this is me in my workplace, but also very much it reflects what's happening with society and what's happening globally. So the difficulties that we have in our workplaces very much reflect what's going on with society and the world, and the frustrations and the fears and the anger and the despair. So when we're considering not just our own personal situations, but we're reflecting what's happening on globally. And I see these feelings of pain, sadness, frustration. I do see that they actually have a flip side. You can only have sadness when there's something you care about that's being hurt or being lost. It's like two sides of the same coin. So having these feelings shows you care and shows that you have compassion. So we feel what we feel, and they're, as I've said before, they're all genuine, relevant feelings to have and really important feelings to have as well. But we have choices in how we respond. So how can we give our best response to what we're seeing happening? And so we move into the power of new perspective. And I don't know if you've ever had that feeling of something being totally impossible, and then later something changes and you find you can do it. And this happens when you change your perspective. Perhaps change the way you're approaching the issue, the importance you're putting on the issue, or a change in the pressure you're under even. It's about changing the story that we're telling ourselves. So one new perspective is to see what you're doing as not doing things alone, but by expanding your sense of self and community. So what's my part in creating a more sustainable society? So a way of doing this is you can look at our act in a box. So this big flash on the screen, that's a fantastic project you've done recently, that you've packaged up, you've done your case study, and this is what you've done. And that can be, you know, we need to do that. We need to share our best practice and learning. That's so important. But if we only look at that in a box and with a frame around it, it can really lead to burnout, feeling that what we do or don't do is make or break, and that it's just one action. But if we look at this in terms of understanding our part in a bigger community, we see these acts as part of this bigger picture. So here's all of us here doing things, and they're all interconnected. So when you step back, you can see that all the different actions are having a bigger cumulative effect. So I look at this like a picture, and every pixel in this picture is one of us. And as we step back, you see a larger picture emerging, just like we're seeing here. So every pixel is an activity that strengthens that possibility of, well, just contributing to wider change. And there are no guarantees. There are no guarantees here. But there's this idea of synergy where you don't know what will occur when your action and someone else's action happen. Results that could never have occurred had the actions happened one at a time may occur. And perhaps you've experienced this. I have recently, within a few days, I've heard the same idea mentioned in different places. And I think, you know, I've heard that a few times, but I must look into that. And a friend of mine calls it 1 + 1 = 2 and a bit. So your actions will always, you know, you just don't know that yours and someone else's actions are just going to create a bit more of a response or a result than you ever even imagined. Okay, and so going into the last part of the process that we've been working through, this going forward, where we prepare ourselves just to consolidate the feelings into some way forward for ourselves. And we use this idea that unless you know what you hope for in your work, you can't build a path towards it. So it's kind of a visioning. So bringing back the chat box again, can you respond to this question, to this open sentence? What I hope can happen in my work is. What would you love to happen in your work? A snowball effect of positive behaviour change. That sounds good. I hope I can influence future generations to behave in environmentally positive ways. To inspire a widespread change in attitudes, yeah. I hope for more education of the energy crisis. I hope I can be positive enough to encourage others. Yeah. You hope for a flexible attitude. Yep. Lynn hopes for all of the above. Fantastic. Anybody else? What I hope can happen in my work is to feel less alone. That's really important. Desire to change for the better, to make a difference, yes. Other programme areas would appreciate the benefits of this agenda and take ownership of the issue in their area of expertise rather than simply coming from our department all the time. Oh yes, I'm sure a lot of people would feel that too. Okay, and if that's what you hope can happen from your work, how are you going to get there? How are you going to fill in that gap? What step can you take in making this happen? So it's your chance to think now, what step can I take in making this happen? Thank you, Liz. So keep trying even if it doesn't work first time. Brilliant. Be positive. Take more cake to more people. Fantastic. Have positive communication of benefits. Yeah. So a step I can take is talk about the issues to other staff. Alison. So as you're doing this, really think about how actually, you know, you've come to this webinar for half an hour, which is swift, but what can you take away from it to make sure that this half hour was really worthwhile, and that you've expressed your concerns, you've expressed your gratitude, your concerns, and your desire to make things better. So what are you going to take? What steps will you take in making this happen? So to help one person to change their behaviour, from then on the world is your oyster, hopefully. Fantastic. So hope, persuade to take action and be a good example to follow. And Tom, walk the talk. Continue to make representations to new avenues. Yeah. Try and investigate other ways of communicating. Thanks, Lynn. Yeah. Get out of the office and speak to people. Brilliant. To be a positive role model. I think that's really, really important. Fantastic. Well, part of my offering is my steps to making it happen for me is these workshops for sustainability practitioners, and also to students as they start considering what next when they prepare to leave university life. So that's an aim for myself to build as my next step. But we've got to the end of our half-hour slot, and that has been the fastest whistle-stop tour of the process ever, I think. I hope it's been of value. I've been talking a lot, and I'm really pleased that everyone's been contributing. Someone's managing to draw a smiley face. I love this whiteboard. Does anyone have any questions or reflections they'd like to share? And I think at this point, Emma, you are going to facilitate people actually being able to speak.
Yes, hi. Thank you, Kirsty. I think everyone agreed that was a brilliant workshop there. As Kirsty said, if anyone does have any questions, it would be great if we could use your microphones and be able to get your thoughts aloud. So if anyone wants to share their thoughts, opinions, or questions, if you just like to drop a message and say you'd like to in the chat box, and I can unmute you. Oh, Kirsty, in the chat box, there's a question there from Charlotte.
So you mentioned Joanna Macy. Do you have any particular books that you recommend? Oh, yes, I do. There's a wonderful book by Joanna Macy and Chris Johnston, and that's called Active Hope. And that's a book you can read by yourself or even better with others. And to work through, and it works through this kind of process that is much more detail and with much more time to stop and think. And that's wonderful. And if you were to read that, I'd really urge you to try and find some others that would like to read it with you, and to, take some, meet up every week or something and explore how you're finding it. So I definitely recommend Active Hope. Ooh. Any AEC book group, perhaps? So that would be really fascinating. I would be really up for that.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to look into that one, Charlotte. Get back to you on that one. Does anyone else have any questions? You can use the chat box if you don't want to speak aloud. That's fine. We can answer them. Again, as I said at the beginning of the webinar, if there are any questions that you don't want to share now, or even if something pops into your mind later on in the day, feel free to email Kirsty or myself, whatever's easiest for you, and we'll make sure that Kirsty tries to get back to you.
Yeah, I'm more than happy to hear from people later on, if you've got any queries that come to you or any thoughts and reflections on the process, how you found it. That'd be great.
Brilliant. Well, if that's the end, if anyone else wants to pop up and ask a question now, that would be great. If not, I think, Kirsty, I'm going to say thank you very much. That was brilliant. Very useful. I hope people will be able to take away many thoughts and actions from this.
Oh, thank you for everyone for getting involved. It's fantastic.
It's brilliant. Lots of thank yous coming through.